But in the meantime, just wanted to...
A planned debt limit meeting between Biden and top congressional leaders that was supposed to be held on Friday has been postponed. Leaders instead agreed to meet early next week. The White House painted the delay as a positive development. They say it means meetings are progressing. Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy briefed reporters on Thursday.
The White House didn't cancel the meeting. All of the leaders decided it's probably in the best of our interest to let the staff meet again before we get back together. I don't think there's enough progress for the leaders to get back together.
President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have so far failed to reach an agreement on how to handle the U.S. debt ceiling. Biden wants to unconditionally lift the government's $31.4 trillion legal borrowing limit to avert a historic default. McCarthy and other GOP leaders want the government to slash trillions of dollars in spending cuts before agreeing to any sort of deal. Sources say some White House officials are acknowledging they must accept some compromise, either in the form of spending cuts or strict caps on future spending. But at the same time, they are standing firm on Biden's signature climate legislation, which House Republicans say needs to be slimmed down as they passed a bill in April to repeal incentives for renewable energy, EVs, and other climate-friendly tech. Sources say the two sides are also debating how long to push out the next potential debt ceiling showdown. Biden and Democrats hope a future confrontation happens at least 2 years later, pushing legislative action beyond the 2024 presidential election. But they may have to accept larger spending cuts or stricter caps to get more time.
Tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, the pandemic-era Title 42 public health order will end. Starting at midnight, people who arrive at our southern border will be subject to our immigration enforcement authorities under Title 8 of the United States Code. Here is what that means. If anyone arrives at our southern border after midnight tonight, they will be presumed ineligible for asylum and subject to steeper consequences for unlawful entry, including a minimum 5-year ban on re-entry and potential criminal prosecution. The transition to Title 8 processing will be swift and immediate. We have surged 24,000 Border Patrol agents and officers, thousands of troops, contractors, and over 1,000 asylum officers and judges to see this through. We could see very crowded, as we are now, we could see very crowded Border Patrol facilities. I cannot overstate the strain on our personnel and our facilities, but we know how to manage through such strain, as difficult as it will be. I have tremendous confidence and pride in our personnel.
In a contentious 70-minute live broadcast on CNN, former U.S. President Donald Trump mocked a woman who claimed he'd sexually abused her, repeated falsehoods about his 2020 election loss, and said he'd pardoned many of his supporters convicted of crimes related to the violent January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Political analysts said the performance was unlikely to win over independent voters, considering whether to give the Republican candidate another shot at the White House.
I don't believe that there are really people out there that are undecided about Donald Trump.
Lori Cox Hahn is a professor of political science at Chapman University.
So I'm not sure what this does in terms of helping voters make a decision for 2024. The people who are going to support him are going to support him no matter what he says, no matter what he does. And the independent voters, like I said, I don't think there are too many people out there who haven't already made up their mind about Donald Trump.
On topic and in tone, Trump appeared uninterested in presenting a more moderate or disciplined message. And after a federal jury earlier in the week found that Trump sexually abused writer E. Jean Carroll in a department store dressing room in Manhattan in the 1990s, he called Carroll a whack job on stage, eliciting applause and laughter from the audience of Republicans and independent voters.
It's hard, I think, for some of us to watch audience applauding or laughing when he's making light of rape and sexual assault. And I think that was, there were many troubling moments in this. I think that certainly is one of them. The fact that right from the start, he still refuses to acknowledge the election results in 2020. And so, in a lot of ways, this is
a temporary accommodation center in Berdyansk, in Russian-controlled Ukraine. Ahead of a long-expected Ukrainian counteroffensive, families were brought here by Russian-installed authorities in the southern Zaporizhia region. A Reuters reporter was free to talk to evacuees and Russian-installed officials, although there were some areas where filming was not allowed, and access was agreed with local authorities. A volunteer from the Russian Movement for Children and Youth said about 2,000 people have arrived so far. The Russian-installed acting governor of the region, which Moscow has claimed as its own, said the increased Ukrainian shelling of 18 settlements near the front line led to what he called the temporary relocation of people. Reuters was unable to independently verify those details about Ukrainian shelling. Ukraine's military has accused Moscow of forcibly evacuating people from the area, something it denies. Berdansk has been under Russian control since February 27th of last year, just 3 days after Moscow launched what it calls its special military operation in Ukraine. 3 evacuees interviewed by Reuters said they had chosen to be evacuated themselves for security reasons. Among them is 22-year-old Ludmila, who did not give her last name.
We used to go out and watch the shelling, especially at night. You could see the flashes as they launch the shells. When it lands, everything goes red. We've had shells landing nearby, and when it landed, the entire sky was red, like a shine. People get used to it fast. Children get used to it. They stop being afraid. When they announced the evacuation, we decided not to ignore it, because who knows what might happen. It's not just for nothing, so we decided to leave.
2 of the evacuees expressed satisfaction with their new conditions, but Ludmila and the others Reuters spoke with all agreed on one thing. They said they hoped to one day return home.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk says he's found someone to replace him as the head of Twitter. In a tweet Thursday, Musk wrote in part, "Excited to announce that I have a new CEO. She will be starting in about 6 weeks." Musk said he will become executive chairman and chief technology officer of Twitter. The appointment of a successor, even an unnamed one, is likely to calm concerns of Tesla investors, who have been increasingly worried about the time Musk is devoting to turning around Twitter. Tesla's stock fell to a more than 2-year low in December, with one top shareholder accusing Musk of abandoning Tesla. The stock has bounced back this year and rose 2% on Thursday. Musk said in November he expected to reduce his time at Twitter and eventually find a new leader to run the social media company. He has never named any candidates. The billionaire's first 2 weeks as the new Twitter owner in October were marked by rapid change. He quickly fired Twitter's previous CEO and other senior leaders and then laid off half its staff a month later. In a Twitter poll started by Musk in December, 57.5% of users voted for him to step down as CEO of the social media platform, with Musk responding, "I will resign as CEO as soon as I find someone foolish enough to take the job."